Hey everybody, Brad Shipke here, and in this video, I'm going to be walking you through the 3 core routines that every trauma survivor needs in order to fully heal from home without therapy, without medication, and without doctors. Now, these are 3 routines that I personally used in my own life, and it's what we teach every single one of our coaching clients around the world so that they can stay consistent on their own recovery and ensure success. And you definitely want to stick around for the 3rd routine here because it's one that we actually developed on our own. You won't have heard it anywhere else. And frankly, it's the most important. So you want to stick around for that. And then I'll also walk you through different tips under each one of these. I have several different tips to help you actually implement these into your life. So why you want to get routines into your life is like they're installing little automatic modes of behavior into your own brain. So it's like installing little pieces of software to ensure that you are doing the things you need to do day in and day out. And there are specific tasks and specific things that you need to do to ensure that you have a solid mindset, that you are actually processing your trauma on every day consistently, and that you are actually setting yourself up for success for the day and for the next day. So the first routine here is the evening routine. And this is pretty simple, but a saying that I love to say, and I say it all the time, is a great tomorrow starts today. If you want tomorrow to be great, then it starts with the actions that you take today. Right? So often we want to push things off to tomorrow, push them off to tomorrow. But if a great tomorrow starts today, if you want a good tomorrow, it needs to start today. And that's why we start with the evening routine. So there's no excuse. You're not going to say, oh, I'll do my morning routine tomorrow. It's like, no, let's start with your evening routine tonight. Right? So the goal of the evening routine is to prime yourself for sleep, because sleep is one of the biggest problems that trauma survivors have. Prime you for sleep, set you up for success for the next day. So ensure that your next day has the highest likelihood of achievement, and to program success into your brain. So actually to start programming your mind in a more positive way and to start changing some fundamental beliefs. So those are the goals of the evening routine. Now, some benefits is that you can fall asleep faster. Once you start implementing this, you'll fall asleep faster, more consistently. You'll have less anxiety before bed in the next day. You can reduce nightmares and start to actually reprogram your mind in some core beliefs on a consistent basis. Because if you just do belief work once, if you start changing beliefs once, that's good, but you know what you need to really change that is to do that work consistently. So what are some actions that you can actually take? The first one here is to have a set sleep time. So sleep time. You want to go to bed as best as you can at the same time, right? So for me, it's 9:30. I know that I start winding down around 8:30 so that I can fall asleep at 9:30, and that's when I start my own routine. I still do this routine because it sets me up for success for the next day. So the first one is set a sleep time. The second tip here is to PTT. PTT, plan tomorrow today, right? And visualize it. So you never want to enter a day without a plan, right? So plan tomorrow today basically just means I'm going to create a to-do list of things that I'm going to do tomorrow. Or I like to write down at 4:30 I'm waking up, 5 o'clock I get to the gym, 7 a.m. I get to work, here are the things I'm going to do at work. And I go through the whole day, I write it out like that, and then I actually visualize myself going through that day and having a successful day. So planning tomorrow today, that is one key thing that will set you up for success for the next day, so you don't enter the day without a plan. So a lot of people, they wait until they enter a day to actually create a plan for that day. But then that actually just leaves a loophole open for you to procrastinate or to make excuses or whatever else. That's what I learned in my own life. It's like if I didn't have a plan for the next day, then maybe I would make a plan, but maybe I wouldn't. It was kind of like a coin toss in the air. So plan tomorrow today. Third thing here is where we start actually programming your mind, and we want to write down at least 3 gratitudes. So gratitudes, and these can be simple or these can be deep. The whole idea is to just start shifting your mindset to seeing the good in life. Because when you go through trauma, you are put in such a harmful, powerful, negative situation that your mind starts going and seeing negative everywhere. And if we do that enough, we start to become blind to all the good in our life, all the goodness in our life, and we can start to spiral out of control. So by inputting gratitudes into your mind every night, at minimum 3, I would recommend 5. 5 gratitudes a night, and just writing them down. And again, if you want to make them more powerful, visualize them. It'll start shifting your mindset in a really profound way, where you'll start seeing things just in your daily life, things to be grateful for, because there's so much to be grateful for. Just being awake, being able to see, being able to hear, being able to walk, being able to breathe, the technology, the people in our life, everything. There's so much to be grateful for, but we hardly ever take the time to actually focus on it and really change the way we perceive the world. So gratitudes right there. Number 4, be goals or visualizing the future and program your mind for a positive future, right? So writing down your goals, visualizing your goals, really immersing yourself in that future self that you want to be, in that future place that you want to be, to program your mind the night before. And then the last thing here is a relaxation exercise. So using a relaxation exercise right before you get to bed primes your body in a really good state to fall asleep. My favorite one is, especially when I was, when I still had PTSD, and what I recommend to a lot of our clients is just deep breathing. So breathing in as deep as you can and holding it for about 5 seconds and then releasing it. So inhaling as much air as you possibly can into your lungs. It's super simple. And exhaling. And then on top of that, adding some progressive muscle relaxation, which is just flexing and unflexing the different parts of your body to relax it. And when you do that, it relaxes your body in a really nice way. And if you have any sort of disturbing thoughts or disturbing visualizations, you can use a tool called a mind palace or a safe space, which is really just visualizing whether a real or an imaginary environment in your mind where you feel safe, where you feel relaxed. This could be, I don't know, it could be Disney World. It could be on the top of a mountain. Mine's on top of a mountain where I'm looking over this valley and I can feel the breeze. I can feel the cool air. And I can smell the pine trees, and I really just make it very immersive, and that's a very relaxing place for me to be. So that's a really good thing to do there before bed. Again, sleep time, number 1, PTT, plan tomorrow today, gratitudes, goals, relaxation. Now, one other resource that I will give you, and I will put it in the resources section below, or the whatever you call it, the description below this video, is a piece from our workbook. So our coaching clients, we give all of our coaching clients what we call our Unbreakable Planner, which actually has gratitudes built into it. It has the PTT section built into it. It has something, section that says what would make tomorrow great. We have a place for wins, and then we have a whole page for goals, affirmations, and things like that. So I'm going to post a link to this 100% free PDF so you can print it out yourself. And that's a great thing to do right before bed because it is a system that you can rely on. You don't have to remember to do your gratitudes. You don't have to remember to do PTT. You don't have to remember to write down your goals. It's all here in this system. So I would highly recommend printing out a bunch of these, leaving them next to your bed with a pen and just filling it out. Even if you don't fill out the whole thing, even if you just filled out the gratitudes every night, it'll really start to shift your mindset in a really, really powerful way. There's actually been studies done where doing 5 gratitudes a day is more powerful than depression medication. So take that for what you will, but this stuff is very, very powerful. All right, so the second routine here is the morning routine. So after you have your evening routine dialed in, right? So a great tomorrow starts today. So once you get your evening tonight dialed in, you have it all written out, planned out what you're going to do exactly, then you have to figure out what you're doing the next morning, right? So the benefits of having a morning routine is that it gets your body into a consistent sleep schedule, which actually helps you sleep better, helps you deal with morning anxiety or morning dread. So if you dread waking up, building this into a habit and installing this as a program in your mind will be something you can rely on to get you into a good state for the rest of your day. Now, a lot of people start their day and, without too much intention at all, and they'll just do whatever they feel, right, for that morning. Maybe they roll out of bed a little bit late. They, they spike their anxiety even more with a big cup of coffee, have some kind of processed meal, whatever it is. But when you have a system that you can rely on, a routine that you can rely on, it really brings a lot of peace, and you can input specific actions that reduce those anxieties. That set you up for a great day. So what do you want to do? Again, I have 5 tips here. 1 is to set a wake time and keep that consistent as much as possible, right? So you want to give yourself, they say, between 7 and 9 hours of sleep each night. I typically like to have more. Some days, I wake up, for like 7 hours, I feel good, but 9 hours for me is typically where I feel best. And then everything below there, I can't really stay consistent with that for too long, but you want to set your wake time. The next thing you want to do is hydrate. So after you wake up, or after you sleep, your body actually excretes and releases a lot of fluid, right? Through sweat, through breathing. So your body actually becomes dehydrated overnight. So just having a glass of water, I drink a lot of water, but if you just have a glass of water, drink that, hydrate your body, that'll give you energy, help wake you up. The next thing here is a mindset thing, is affirmations. So I covered this in a previous video, but an affirmation is basically just it's a positive belief, intentional thought. It's an intentional positive thought that you input into your mind to strengthen a particular positive belief. So there's nothing weird about it. You just, whatever beliefs you want to form in your life, reverse engineer them into specific thoughts that you need to say to yourself consistently to create that belief. And that's what you want to create your affirmations around. That's a very simplified way to do it. But they are seriously powerful if you are consistent with them. And beliefs control your entire life. Your beliefs control your actions and your emotions and your results. Everything stems from beliefs. And how do you change your beliefs at a core level? Through your thoughts, right? So, and this is one way to input positive thoughts on a consistent basis. Again, having a system, a core system to allow you to do that. The next thing I recommend is meditation. So meditation is great because it focuses your mind, also trains your mind in a really powerful way, trains your focus, your ability to focus, which is powerful, not just in life, but in recovery as well. And it helps actually get you some separation from your thoughts, which is helpful. It's a helpful skill to build when you start to actually do some processing of traumas. Because the more separation you get, the more you can see your emotions instead of being consumed by them. The easier it is to deal with them, to manage them, to become aware of them in the first place, and then to actually process them. So meditation is great. I recommend, anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes. I like 20 minutes. If you're new, you can start at 5. Even 5 minutes might be excruciating for you, but set a minimum at 5 and then work your way up to whatever you want. Again, I like 20, but anywhere from 5 to 20 in the morning is great. And then the last thing here is exercise. Ain't no good morning routine without some exercise, right? So again, I would recommend something that gets your heart rate up to a certain degree, that gets you sweating a little bit. That's what I found gets me into the best state, where I'm not drained of energy, but I'm not still, half asleep. So if I can get my heart rate up and I can start sweating a little bit, regardless of what the exercise is, but not push it too far, that's when I have the most energy. And that's when I still get the benefits of, my anxiety level being reduced, and really just getting into a good state. That's what I found on my recovery journey, is like doing enough, but not too much to make myself exhausted, but enough to get the benefits. So that's what I would say there. Now, the last one here, and the most important. Now, they're all important because these two are kind of the foundations, right? And I like to think of these as bookends to your day, right? So in the morning, you're doing your morning routine. In the evening, you're doing your evening routine, and they're bookends, right? So you're going to be starting your day on a good note, and you're going to be ending your day on a good note. Now, this last routine here is awesome. And it's something that every one of our successful clients has implemented this routine here. And it's we call it a healing routine, right? So this is a set period of time. We recommend, anywhere from 60 minutes plus, but 60 minutes we recommend everybody do every day to focus on their healing. Now, what do you do during that healing time? Is you're either learning or processing. So either 1, learning the skills to process your past, or 2, implementing those skills that you learned to actually process your past. And typically how this goes in recovery and in our coaching programs is that, we have something called the success path, which is, A to Z, what somebody needs to know in order to fully recover from home without, therapy, medication, or doctors. So the first part of what we tell everybody to do is you need to learn the foundational knowledge required to fully heal. Because without the foundation of knowledge, you can't implement that knowledge to actually heal your past. So generally, the first part of your healing routine will be spent on learning, on skill development, on learning the processing tools, on learning how to build awareness of your mind, build a positive mindset, change your beliefs, release emotions. All of the foundational skills required to heal, that should be in your healing routine, and that should be done daily. Now, once you know the tools, the healing routine then switches from learning to processing to actually implementing those things. So you might be spending an hour a day learning how to actually heal your past in the beginning. But then once you know the tools, that hour will then shift from learning to actually processing. Now, something else you need when doing your healing routine is a safe space, safe spot, I'll put. So a spot where you feel comfortable to address your emotions, to feel your emotions. And this is important because if you're getting interrupted in the middle of a processing session, it's not going to be very nice. If you can't be honest with yourself or express emotions honestly, you're not going to get the most out of this routine. So you want it to be a safe space. Now, this could just be in your home, if you live alone, or maybe in your home if nobody else is around, or it could be in your car. I did so much processing in my car because people lived in my home and I didn't want to be, doing my processing in my home where other people could, hear me and walk in and whatever. I did some of it there, but a big chunk of it, my healing routine is I would wake up, and then after my morning routine, I would jump right into my healing routine, right? So I would get my hour of healing. Actually, I would always do more than an hour, between 1 and 2.5 hours. Because the more time that you put in, the faster you see results. That's how it works, right? And the benefit of learning how to heal on your own is that you can put in as much time as you want. And a great way to think about this healing routine and why this is so powerful is that you can actually think of it as doing a therapy session every day. Except it's actually more effective than a therapy session. It's better, and it's just better. You can do as many as you want. So that's the benefit of actually learning these skills, is your healing goes so much faster. If you do the traditional method, you do 1 therapy session per week. And that's 52 sessions a year. And you're not even doing a full hour, you're probably doing 50 minutes. And maybe you have a really good therapist, maybe you don't. A lot of people don't have very good therapists, and a lot of people, quite honestly, are not even using the right modality to heal their trauma. So they're paying a lot of money for this specialist, for this therapist, and maybe the specialist isn't that good, and they're not using the right modality, and they're only getting 50 minutes every single week, right? If you've had trauma, even for just a few years, it's hard to believe that you can heal on 50 minutes a week. Now, if you stretch that over, years or decades, it's unreasonable to believe that you're going to undo decades or years of trauma and, just spiraling and all of that, just those negative beliefs building. It's unreasonable to believe that you can undo that with a 50-minute therapy session once a week. Like it's a problem that requires more effort. And the problem with that model as well is that it creates a lot of hopeless people and a lot of dependent people. Because a lot of people, you might have heard this, that you need to go to therapy and you can't deal with this on your own. You need professional help, right? Well, what if you turned yourself into the professional? Because you are the best one equipped to actually solve the problems that you face. Not a therapist, not me, not anybody. And why is that? Because you are the one closest to the problem. So to me, it makes the most sense to have you learn the tools so you can go deeper than anybody that exists. You are the person who can go the deepest, who can do the most. And it doesn't mean you don't learn, doesn't mean you don't get help, doesn't mean you turn into this, arrogant person who doesn't humble themselves ever. It's like, no, you still learn, you still develop yourself, or maybe you develop yourself, right? So you actually develop the skills instead of relying on somebody else. And I'm not saying that all therapy is bad, because even if you have a good therapist and you have a good relationship, you can accelerate that to a massive degree by doing all this work on your own. And who wants to extend their suffering longer than it needs to be? Not many people. So it doesn't matter what situation you're in. If you're going to therapy and you have a good therapist and you're rocking it, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm happy for you. Keep crushing it. But on top of that, if you want to go faster, if you were like me, it's like, man, this just isn't enough. And then if my therapist goes on vacation or something, it's like, well, then my healing stops. It's like, I didn't want to be left in a dependent relationship, so I learned how to do it myself. And it turned out that was so much more powerful anyway. Not just because I could do more of it, but I could go so much deeper. So developing this healing routine really is the most powerful thing that you could do for yourself. And then the last step here is just to make it as relaxing as possible. Right? Because facing your past can be stressful, especially in the beginning. Once you learn the tools, you get used to it and you start processing things and you start getting wins and you're knocking these traumas off and you're like, I'm getting so much better. You actually start to enjoy the process. But in the beginning, when you haven't faced any of your traumas and maybe you have a belief that it's really scary or, you can't do this or whatever it is, it can be daunting in the beginning. So you want to try to make the whole process as relaxing as possible. And that includes how you think of it, just allowing yourself to relax during that time, and also getting, along with a safe spot, making a relaxing spot. And a little bonus tip too is give yourself a reward afterwards, right? So you go through here, you do your healing routine, you spend an hour processing, maybe get yourself a nice coffee or something, whatever it is. Or maybe you just allow yourself to take a nap for 20 minutes, right? But making it relaxing and then giving yourself a reward will make it that much more likely that you do it and that you continue doing it. Because if you can make it enjoyable, then you'll want to start doing it. Now, there are some roadblocks and problems that people have when they try to implement this. So I'm actually going to go through six tips to ensure adherence to these things, right? So I'm actually going to put these tips over here. So tip number 1 is to write it down. 5, 6. Write these down. What's your evening routine? Write it down. Exactly what you're going to do step by step by step by step. Morning routine, what is it? Write it down on a piece of paper. Healing routine, write it down on a piece of paper. What are you going to be learning? Where is your safe spot? Where are you going to go? How are you going to make it relaxing? Have all this, write it down, have a plan for it. It's not just something that should exist in your mind. You need to write it down. And then even better, if you want to go into this Unbreakable planner, and you want to print some of these sheets out, in the beginning, I highly recommend you write down these morning routines, excuse me, every day. Every day, part of your evening routine. What I would do in the PTT section, right? I would write down my morning routine every morning so that I ingrain it into my life even more. I'd write my morning routine and my healing routine and my evening routine again here, right? And then once I write it, I would visualize it to then make it more likely that I do it. Now, second thing here is a mindset trick, something to help keep you adhering to these routines. I'm actually just going to erase this whole thing. And it's something that I call the habit building timeline. So when building any sort of routine, you're going to go through this process that I'm going to write out here. So if we take a look at this, and this is a graph, on the x-axis is time, on the y-axis it's willpower, So up at the top, that's where a lot of willpower is. Down at the bottom, low willpower. And let's say when you're starting to implement this new routine, you're going to have to exert some willpower in the beginning. It's not going to be comfortable. You already have ingrained habits and behaviors every morning, every evening, and whenever you choose to do your healing routine. You already have a mode of behavior that you're doing, right? So to change that mode of behavior, it's going to require willpower. You're going to have to have discipline. There's no way around it. You have a path in your mind already grooved in that is already easy for you. It's going to take some willpower to change that. So what that looks like in graph form is that in the beginning of changing a habit, the willpower is going to be the highest, right? But as time goes on, the amount of willpower that's required is going to go down, go down, go down, go down, go down until it's almost nothing, right? So this is what I call the habit building timeline, because in the beginning, it's the hardest. It's supposed to be hard. You're going to wake up and you're like, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to do this. That's what everybody thinks. Nobody wants to do that. And then the next day, you're going to be like, I still don't want to go to the gym. I still don't want to do this. And you're like, well, but I know if I keep doing this and I'm consistent with this new mode of behavior, it's going to become easy. It's going to become automatic. So you keep doing it day after day after day. And maybe by day 3 or 4, you're like, okay, gym sounds okay. And then it just gets easier and easier and easier and easier and easier. So by having this mindset and this mental model and this visual in your head, going into this behavior change process, getting your evening, morning, and healing routine in place, having this mindset will be really, really important for you. Now, I already touched on this one, but to improve adherence here can be a reward, right? So evening routine. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a physical reward, but a reward could be, I don't know, some people like the sleepy time tea or some kind of tea before bed. It could just be, I'm going to say some nice things about myself. I'm going to relax. I'm going to visualize my future. I'm going to give myself just 10 minutes to just chill, and whatever. Morning routine. It could be like at the end of your morning routine, you have your coffee, and I talked about that as well with the healing routine. If you can find a reward and make it as enjoyable as possible, it'll be that much easier to adhere to this new mode of behavior. Fourth thing here is to chunk, right? So if you write out your morning routine, some people like morning routines and they just write like something, they have like one of those scrolls. You ever see one of those movies? Or they have one scroll and they just like roll it out and it just rolls on the floor. Like some people's morning routines are like that. If you want to do that, go ahead. But even a small morning routine or evening routine or healing routine can seem daunting and overwhelming. So how do you overcome that overwhelm? I mean, one way I already covered kind of with the mindset here, but another way is to chunk it. So to only think about one little tiny piece of that routine. So for example, with working out or with my morning routine, I'd be like, I don't want to wake up. I don't want to go to the gym. And then when I'm at the gym, I don't want to lift all these heavy weights and then do 30 minutes of cardio. And then I don't want to meditate for 30 minutes. I just want to go back to sleep. I'm in this really comfortable bed. And like I would think of the entire routine. And then that would be overwhelming for me in the moment. But what helped me was to just take one tiny chunk of that. And the tiny chunk that I chose, that actually helped me break this. So if the smaller the chunk you can choose, the more likely you are going to get through this. But this little chunk that I chose was like, okay, all I need to do is I need to get up and get in my car and drive to the parking lot. If I get to the parking lot of the gym and I want to come home, I'll come home. But guess what? Every single time that I got to the parking lot, sometimes I sat in my car for like 5 minutes, but every single time I went to the gym. Not once did I turn around. So because I got the ball moving. And then once I got there, I chunked again. So once I completed that chunk, I was like, okay. We're here. I don't want to drive all the way back home. Okay, let's just do one round of lifts. Let's just do 3 sets of lifting. And be like, okay, I can do 3 sets. That's easy. If this one little exercise, got it, no problem. And then once I got into the three sets, the rest of it just came natural to me. So one way you can do this is just chunking out your routine into the smallest piece possible. Like for me, it was like, I need to get into my car and just drive there. And if I come back, that's fine, whatever. Because at least if I drive there and then drive back, I'm still making progress. I am changing my behavior in a small way because I did something that I wouldn't normally do. And that's a different mindset shift as well. It's like when you're trying to change behavior, you're trying to change your routines, your automatic modes of behavior. It's like, that was a success for me. Even though I never did it. But in my head, I was like, okay, that's a success. If you drive to the gym, when previously you would just sleep in your bed and sleep in, if you just drive to the gym and drive back, that's a win. Why? Because that's progress. That's me taking action that I wasn't previously taking. That's me getting closer to that ideal goal of this morning routine. And that's the way you want to think about it too. It's like, okay, you chunk it down, but then you see each chunk as a success because each chunk is a success because you are taking actions that you didn't previously take. Right? So great thing to ask yourself is, how can I talk myself to get myself, how can I talk myself to get myself to do this task? How can I get myself to do this, right? How can I talk myself into this? Because you can talk yourself into anything, you can talk yourself out of anything. And a lot of times we talk ourselves out of doing the things that we need to do instead of intentionally talking ourselves into why and how we can do things. And a lot of times it's removing pressure, chunking things down, making them smaller, making them easier, more manageable, and not being so hard on ourselves. And by that, we're able to work with ourselves to actually get the things done that we need to get done. All right, so the fifth tip here is to focus on progress, not perfection. So let's write progress here. So by focusing on progress, not perfection, I touched on this with the chunking, right? So me focusing on progress is me focusing on, hey, or me saying to myself, hey, if I go to the gym, if I drive to the gym and drive home, that's progress and that's success. So redefining success on this it will very much help you. Anyway, success. And the next thing here is long-term, to think long-term. That didn't just totally ruin my momentum. You want to think about something, if you can do this long-term, if you can do this for the rest of your life, you want to ask yourself, is this something that I can do for the rest of my life? And through that lens, if you view these routines and you craft these routines in a way that you can actually imagine yourself doing for the rest of your life, even on your bad days, then it's going to be that much more likely that you actually do it and are consistent with it. So for example, if you have a morning routine where you're waking up at 3:30, you're drinking a gallon of water, you're meditating for an hour, and you're exercising for an hour, and you have 50 affirmations you want to say. It's like, okay, great. That might be great for you. But can you imagine yourself doing that for the rest of your life? And sometimes we just need to make our routines smaller and more manageable in the beginning to actually start getting the momentum for us, right? So it doesn't have to be this big, complex routine that you do, right? You could wake up at a normal hour. You could drink a cup of water. You could do 5 affirmations. You could do 5 minutes of meditation. You could do a 10-minute walk. Right? Even though I said you should want to get your heart rate up, just let's look at progress. If you're not doing anything and then you get a 10-minute walk-in or 5-minute walk-in, that's progress. And then you build that into a habit and then you can start expanding what you're doing. So last thing here, very important, healing routine. If you want to know how to actually implement the tools for the healing routine, the things that you should do here, the things that you should learn, go check out this video right here. I walk you through actual processing tools, an actual processing tool that you should use in your healing routine. So go watch it and subscribe if you like this. If not, don't subscribe and let me know in the comments that you didn't like it, and I'll see you in the next one.